So Valentine's Day is my favorite holiday. And before you come for me, because I know we're fighting all of the isms, right? Consumerism being one of them. And, I have a whole soapbox about how they placed all of the high travel, high spending, high just doing the fucking most holidays in winter when we're supposed to be resting. And I get it, Valentine's Day is a part of that. But hear me out. So growing up, my mother, first of all, my parents were married on Valentine's Day. So that's a whole nother portal that we can talk about later. But my mother always made such a conscious effort of making sure that we felt loved and appreciated. I'd wake up and our door would be decorated on Valentine's Day. We'd come home and our beds would be decorated with gifts. And it was always just a beautiful day for us because my mom really made an effort to showing that appreciation and love for us. I never had to worry about a boy like buying me candy because I already woke up to chocolate, babe. You gotta come better than that. And so I remember just growing up in a environment of which Valentine's Day and doing the most for your lover or family to show your love, it wasn't like a thing. I remember it was such a vibe. Like I remember one time in high school I love to bake, so it was like a night where I was making chocolate covered strawberries for the family. We had ordered Domino's and they had like heart-shaped pizzas, and we were just vibing, playing music throughout the house. And my grandpa had brought out chocolate diamonds that he had got from my grandmother. But even that was such like a beautiful thing because their relationship, and they've been married for 40 years now, about there, and it was such a beautiful thing because their equilibrium, like when I think about my grandparents' relationship, I think about me being in the front room, them being in the back room, like in their room, just laughing. All I hear is cackling and laughing because they love comedy specials and comedy movies together. It'd be that, or all right, I'm hungry, let's go get a Nathan's hot dogs. They have a thing about hot dogs. I don't, if you're from California, or Pink's hot dogs too. They'd love to just get in the car and go get, a shared meal. And so I was very aware as a child of like that was the crux of my grandparents' relationship, and any of the diamonds, and my grandma loves her some jewelry. And I'm just like, that wasn't the base of it though. It was a nice little extra, but and so it was just a really good example of, hey, let's focus on what's really important here. And so as we kind of expand more and I learned more about my lineage and who I come from, you start asking questions about, people and who they were married to. I realized I come from a legacy of love. My big mama and granddaddy on my dad's side, they're also, before my grandfather passed, granddaddy and big mama were married for probably around 40-ish years as well. One of my favorite memories that I love to call my big mama about is how the song Natural Woman makes her think of my granddaddy. And so we'd play it in the car and I would sing badly because I cannot sing, but you make me feel like I would dance around the kitchen and, especially when she would be missing him, and I'd make a whole thing out of it. It was just such a portal for her. And I understood the importance of romantic love and having a partner. And what it does, the stability that it brings you, after being with somebody for that long, how do you maneuver as an individual? So for both my grandparents, I see how their lives have merged for the better, through partnership. So you have them, right? Them being married for forever, my grandma, my grandpa, and neither of those were their first marriages, mind you, but they were what I saw and what they embodied. And so I remember also seeing pictures of my big mama's mother and father and their marriage. This is one generation off of slavery. They were sharecroppers, the whole nine. And there are pictures of them getting married, wearing the tuxedo, cutting the cake. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, how revolutionary. And then they went on to have the 16 kids, in which my big mama was the last girl, hands to help sharecrop, basically. But yeah, what that love between Liberta and Leander Jackson turned into 16 kids, 100 acres, a whole lot of just lots and lots of lineages, lots of babies, lots of grandchildren, all of that came from it. The legacy, it's absolutely beautiful. And so then I think about, this past time that I was home with my grandmother, I remember going through her jewelry box because, again, my grandma loves her some jewelry. And I saw 2 rings, and I'll probably like show a picture here. Learning that it was the ring of my grandmother's grandmother when she was married to Albert Higgins, as well as the wedding ring of her mother. And I was just like, yo, I come from a legacy of love. And so I think about, you know, all the ways that marriage, union, sacred union, romantic love, well, you know, I think their definitions of romantic love meant very differently from ours, but there's a book, you know, All About Love by Bell Hooks. They talk about the different ventures of love and how justice is a very big part of that piece. And so I think about my grandmother being a Black Panther as well, and how when I was in college and I was reading this book and I was like, oh my gosh, the most revolutionary thing I could do would be to marry a Black ass man and raise some Black ass babies who just love themselves, because that is revolutionary within itself. You know, then I was definitely in my little Claire Huxtable phase, wanting to have like 15 kids, go be a businesswoman, you know, I couldn't wait, guys. Went to school, business school in particular, because I definitely wanted to wear pencil skirts with a nice white blouse and every color Jimmy Choos that I wanted. I'm an entrepreneur now, and so it's a very different corporate girly that we are. But anyways, getting sidetracked. In college, this was 2014 when I was in the thick of it. And so a lot was happening with the Black Lives Matter movement. I remember it radicalized a lot of my classmates, and they were reading the Malcolm X and the Black Panther, and we out here, da 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 da. And I was just like, oh, wait, hold on. And at the time, I didn't have the words to articulate it. But now I'm like, oh, epigenetics. My grandmother was a Black Panther. And when they shot up that chapter in LA, and she was like, oh, because she would watch the kids and feed them, and she was a part of those programs. She was like, y'all can't even protect your leader. How you gonna protect me? So she took her Black ass home, decided she was gonna love on her children more, and she went into corporate and changed our financial family tree, by the work that she put in. And I think about the privileges that provided me 2 generations later. But I love it because it's like, Janiece Moore talks about the 4th wave of womanism, and how it's not our rah-rah and us being at the front lines that our activism is. It is us resting, us playing, us dreaming, us being loved on well, okay? And so when we think about the different facets of love and where it comes from, my grandmother's love, I'm a product of that. And so it's provided me a privilege to love and be open to romantic love, to be softer. We come from a legacy of love as Black people. No matter what they say, no matter what these podcasts are saying, no matter what all these dating popped in the balloons, these legacies of love, they're nuanced. And that I do understand, because even when we get into, Black love, I know growing up in Southern California, when it came to dating, it was very different, because growing up in a Black church, I grew up with Black friends. We grew up around Black males. We grew up around, hey, we're dating each other, and you look like me, I look like you. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, right? I like how I look. I like the person that I am. And then you get a little bit older and you go to a school on the other side of town where these are publicly white institutions and a publicly white middle school and high school, to where all of a sudden you are not the epitome of what I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without, coming off as ugh. But it's like, yeah, if we weren't light skinned with curly hair, and the type of curly hair that I'm talking about, or mixed during that time, like, you wasn't getting to play. And if you were, it wasn't out loud. And so it was a very interesting thing growing up in California and interracially dating. Like, it was a thing. And now we talk about Black women, how dating outside of our race might be some people's only chance for love, right? We think about Serena Williams. We think about Nikki Giovanni. She just passed, and people loved bringing that up, of how she out here dating white women, though. And it's a whole thing. And it's like, but does that make her work any less impactful? Does that take away from the very nuanced conversation that she had with Baldwin, about the interworkings of Black men and Black women loving each other and what that means, Black love is layered and it's nuanced. So taking that to a whole nother level, our queer family and how historically we as Black people have treated them when they were the gatekeepers within our original traditions, and communities before colonization came in. And anyways, and so I think about our queer brother and sisters, and I'm just like, yo, they are the epitome of embodiment, being within their bodies and self-expression and movement and all of it's so sensual, and sensual meaning being grounded within your senses, not sexualized. That their conversations about sex are so much more mature, so much more enlightened. It's safer. You know, they are the ones, definitely from my research, from where I'm looking, standing, they are the ones leading the conversations about what it means to safely engage in play sexually, you know? So we can't keep them out of the conversations, and we should be looking at them to trailblaze because they done taken the risk and done the homework, you know? And so when we get into the deeper levels of just nuances of Black love and the legacy of it, when we get into loving ourselves, what that means to love our noses, our hairs, our dark skin, to not be afraid of summer and getting darker, even though Big Mama is telling you, all right now, you looking crispy, come inside now. It's like, nah. What does it mean to love on ourselves, you know? And so this is part 1 of part 2 of why I love Valentine's Day. I just want to give a little history. And so in the next conversation I want to have about this is I want to do one of my favorite, not spiritual baths, but just adornment baths. I love a milk and honey and rose bath, okay? So we're going to get into that in the next conversation, and we're going to make one together because these are wilting, but I really appreciated the roses, and we're going to utilize them for some self-adornment. So happy early Valentine's Day. Happy Black History Month. This is, again, the Holy in Between. How do you end these things? I don't even know. I'm new to this, okay? Okay, bye.